Akila? Dr. Akila?
Ma'am, shall I initiate recording, ma'am?
Yeah. And Dr. Godfrey, please.
Shall we start, madam?
Yes, sir.
Good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of IEEE CS Madras section, Computer Society of India Chennai chapter, and ACM Chennai, I cordially invite you all to the webinar on ISO IEC 42001-2023 EA Management System. Now I request Dr. K. Komathy to deliver the welcome address and introduce the chief guest.
Thank you, Dr. Godfrey. Greetings and good evening all. On behalf of the organizing units, IEEE Computer Society Madras section, Computer Society of India Chennai and ACM Chennai, let me have the pleasure in welcoming the distinguished speaker of the day, Mr. Govind Srinivasan, Practice Manager, Management Systems, Paramount Dataware Private Limited, and Director, Business Systems Education and Research Institute, who will be delivering his presentation on ISO IEC 42001 2023 Artificial Intelligence AI Management System AIMS. I welcome Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chair Events, IEEE CS Madras, who has been the pivotal in organizing this session, and office bearers of the organizing units, member participants of the organizing units, and general audience present in Google Meet and YouTube streaming as well. ISO IEC 42001 is the latest standard for AI management systems. It covers the requirements for the organizations to build a trustworthy AI management system such as risk management, AI impact assessment, system life cycle management, and third-party suppliers. This standard ensures a responsible development, deployment, and operation, which is critical for successful AI adoption and broader digital transformation. It provides guidance for organizations to address AI challenges such as ethics, transparency, and continuous learning. This methodological approach helps business balance innovation and governance while managing the risk and opportunities. ISO IEC 42001 includes all the phases of plan, do, check, conduct cycle in the respect to AI. With this brief outline of the webinar today on ISO IEC 42001-2023 AI Management System, let me introduce a speaker of today's event. Mr. Govind Srinivasan, Practice Manager, Paramount Dataware Private Limited, and Director, Business System Education and Research Institute, BSERI. Mr. Govind Srinivasan is a qualified lead auditor and lead implementer in ISO IEC 42001-2023. He relies on his desire for data research on a wide range of topical interests, which includes AI also. An alumnus of Delhi University, Mr. Govind served in the central government for about 17 years in various departments and organizations such as Indian Railways, Indian Audit and Account Department, Ministry of Defense, Staff Selection Commission, Ministry of Urban Development, Public Works, and as a cadre officer in the Employee State Insurance Corporation. After a spell of 4 years, managing an offshore software development business, Mr. Govind got into the professional life in management system as a lead tutor of ISMs and later into business continuity management systems. And he has been conducting ISMS, BCMS, lead auditor and lead implementer courses for the last 18 years. He has managed a range of implementation, consulting and audit projects that include ISMS and ECMS in different geographies of the world. Besides, he has also been a certification body auditor, third-party auditor for ISMS, BCMS and ITSMS standards for the last more than 14 years. Mr. Govind is a member of ISO technical committees relating to security resilience and risk management standards through the Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS, which represents India in the ISO. He has been practicing ISO management system standards related to information security ISO 27001, business continuity ISO 22301, and IT service management ISO 20000. Besides being a qualified lead auditor in other management system standards such as quality ISO 9001, environment ISO 14001, and occupational health and safety ISO 45001. I welcome all once again and over to Mr. Govind Srinivasan to present his talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Komathy, for a detailed introduction.
Yes, sir.
Thanks to everyone present here. And let me start my presentation without losing much time. Are you able to see my presentation now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The objective of this presentation is not a kind of a training or even awareness, but sharing with you the rationale and the ecosystem demystification, okay, of ISO 42001, which is not a standalone standard, and it is in the company of many standards that form part of artificial intelligence standards published by ISO, IEC, and several are in the offing now. And the idea is to introduce the standards broadly and also try to share with you my own rationale and explain the ecosystem to the required level within this time constraint, whatever that we have. Thanks for being present. Now we need to know what is ISO and IEC. I presume that all the participants here may not be fully aware. What is this ISO and IEC about? Let me share quickly what is this and what is the connectivity with this AIMS standard ISO 42001 as well. Whenever I say 42001 or ISO 42001, it invariably means ISO stroke IEC 42001 colon 2023. There is the formal way how it has to be addressed along with the name of IEC and not only ISO, because both these organizations put together are only running the joint technical committee which is responsible for rolling out, publishing the ISO IEC standards. If you see an IEC standard alone, that means it is not an ISO IEC standard. But if you see an ISO standard separately, it does not mean either it's an ISO IEC standard. This is what we need to remember basically as to how these standards come up. Okay, ISO and IEC, they publish standards, they design, develop and publish standards. These standards are used to ensure consistency and quality across business sectors, industry sectors. And these standards cover a wide range of topics: quality, information security, environment, energy, occupational health and safety, business continuity, service management, and finally now AI management. All that I have said are not comprehensive. There are around 80 standards which are management system standards type A. It is only the type A standards that are used for third-party audit-based certification purposes. When you see a company that says, I am ISO 42001 certified, or say, ISO 27001 certified. That means they have used the standard ISO 27001-2022 Type A, which is a Type A standard. There are many standards. There are around 28 to 30,000 standards ISO has published. These standards have come into being because there is at least one sponsor for these standards, for a particular standard, any standard for that matter. It covers a whole range of human activities in the engineering side, business process side, technology side, all that, putting together, there are around more than 28,000 standards, out of which it's only less than 100 standards that are used for third-party independent audit-based certification purposes. We'll come back to that. And IEC standards, they focus on technical specifications related to electrical and electronic technologies. That's all. IEC does not compete with ISO and vice versa. How ISO IEC publish standards, this is what we will quickly go into. Here is a broad, a presentation of a slide presentation, which shows on the top of it ISO JTC1 IEC. Okay, the ISO JTC1 IEC itself is a separate organization within the domain of ISO IEC. The Joint Technical Committee 1, JTC1, is only responsible for the functioning of so many subcommittees. You can see on the top, there is a cloud computing and distributed platform for that. You've got SC38, subcommittee 38. Another subcommittee 41, looking after Internet of Things and related technologies. You have here SC42 next on the second tier of this presentation, of this slide. You have artificial intelligence. And then comes here SC27, which many of us know because of the fact that it only publishes and maintains the ISO 27001 standard. Okay, there are 18 subcommittees that are all part of it in the JTC1 domain. Okay, so insofar as ISO 42 is concerned, there are work groups and which are responsible for publishing different standards addressing different guidelines. All standards are not third-party independent audit-based certification purposes. They are not used for. It's only ISO 42001 which is the certificate standard. We call that certification standard informally. But the rest of so many standards, they're all there for serving as guideline standards. These guideline standards, without these guideline standards, it is difficult for ISO 42001 alone to be understood. It all depends upon what is our appetite, what is our organizational requirement to understand even ISO 42001. ISO 42001 you may feel like it is addressing at 30,000 feet altitude or 20,000 feet altitude. Many things are written at an abstract level, at a higher level, for the people who have a need to understand what is this 42001. They need to go into the respective standards depending upon what is their need to know and to need to implement. Okay. You can find here, there is on ISO 38507. That is a governance standard. It is a governance standard for artificial intelligence. You can find at the end of it, at the right end of it, you got an AI management system standard. That is a subcommittee of the AG1. The AG1 is an advisory group. That advisory group only is bothered about the ISO 42001 at the apex level. They bother about it. This is the structure I want to share with you. There are so many work groups. The WG are all work groups. There are different work groups, and each work group has got a set of experts and volunteers who are coming up to guide the standard, participate, contribute, and finally enable the rolling out of the individual standards that you see here in this particular slide. Why AMS at all? Big question, right? Simple. AI means different, it gives different meaning to different people. AI for a doctor is very different from AI for a machine language ML engineer or somebody that who is bothered about deep learning. Okay, I am developing DL applications. If you say something, what is the difference between that kind of a person and a doctor, or say a pharmacology expert, or say someone that who is managing a stadium or a sports event? Sports has got so much of AI into it these days. The one which you see on the cricket commentary in the cricket TV with the channels where you see cricket, live cricket. Unless the AI plays a background role, I don't think that the cricket can even be relished, and the information that you get can be easily be understood quickly and move on to the next. So we need a closing box. So because we need a closing box, or say junction box, we need AIMS. Because we need to regulate AI usage and consumption in a controlled manner. Okay, the usage of AI and the consumption of AI. In any segment of human activity, you can see there are three components that are basically present: production, distribution, and consumption. Beyond that, there is nothing. You are either a producer or a distributor or a consumer. You can play different roles on a same day. In a single day, you may be a producer, you may be a distributor, you may be a consumer. But how can a system be formed, a system be developed and rolled out that can take care of the components in that? There are so many components, and the components need to be regulated in a controlled manner. AIMS gives the answer. One more reason, because the stakeholders need to be in sync with each other by design. The left hand has to know what the right hand does and vice versa. If there are 10,000 people working in an organization and all of them or many of them have got adapted to working with AI or working for design and development of AI applications, they need to know where does the border lie and what are the risks in their work itself. For all that, you need to have a management system so that all the components, all the work group people, they are all integrated by design. That integration by design is what the basic objective of artificial intelligence management system. Let's see now what is the business case that pushes the AIMS. Here it is a rough idea that is shared by different media channels. This is from a website called Globe Newswire, which is a news disseminating agency. They say in 2022 it was $168.5 billion, which was the market for artificial intelligence, and it steps up slowly, and finally in the year 2032, the projection is it will be around $2.7 trillion, $2,760 billion, which we can say 2.7 or $2.8 trillion. It is much more than quite a few countries' economy itself. That is the kind of a market expectation, and obviously we need control switches, control boxes. So which is one reason why we need to create connectivity between the components of AIMS: people, process, technology, and physical infrastructure. I once again repeat, TPTPI: people, process, technology, and physical infrastructure. These are the components that go into most of the management systems these days. And for that, insofar as AI is concerned, the focus is AI, then we need ISO IEC 42001. And that is the reason why ISO itself has published the standard 42001. And the amount of work that has gone into in the form of so many work group discussions, deliberations, each work group might have worked for a couple of years, at least couple of years, before the final standard is rolled out. Be it 42001 or be it 22389. 22389 contains terms and definitions of AI, about which I will come to that soon. Please see another one projection here, business case for AIMS. Business case for AIMS, a rapidly increased global market. Again, here, it is not talking about the market itself as such, but it is talking in terms of segments: AI robotics, machine learning, computer vision, autonomous and sensor technology, natural language processing. These are the 4 segments alone that have been counted in this particular graphical presentation. It goes from $93.27 billion to a whopping $826.76 billion in 2030. That is a 10-year expectation in a decade. How from 2020 to 2030, how it is going to be, gradually going up to 826 from 93. Just 4 years before it was 93 billion, and it is expected to go to 86 billion. So again, we need controllers, because anything that goes fast, you need to have controllers. Is otherwise it runs amok. We all know it. Okay. Here is something like many of you who are coming with engineering background or AI background may know at least some of them, if not everything. But here, please see the AI technology landscape. I'm not going to be reading all that, whatever it is all written here. Due to time constraint, I'll move fast sometimes here in this presentation. Once I know that you're all comfortable with the terms, and even if, it is not that I myself may be able to, talk about every single landscape component written here to decent level even. AI is too vast. I'm not into AI. I am into AIMS. I am into ISMS. So I am managing the closing box. But the people who own the components, they are critically important for AIMS to survive and thrive. If the components are not doing its own job and the AIMS is not impacting the components, whatever in the landscape you are seeing, all of them can come into AIMS depending upon what is an organization's business. Where does AI come into play? These are the only criteria that an organization has to understand to configure an AIMS for itself. Okay, this is a Creative Commons, slide. I have given the link also. You can go into that, and this has got excellent content. You can go through leisurely. It is titled as, on the right side you can see, Rethinking Data Strategy and Integration for Artificial Intelligence, Concepts, Opportunities, and Challenges. Does AI give out negative impact? I have talked AI in superlative terms. Is it also capable of doing something evil? Let's see. Here is one simple impact, negative impact. AI is already causing to the environment. This is a carbon dioxide, CO2 emissions in tons. Okay, so you can see that CO2 emissions in tons means that whatever that we are talking about here, the contribution is from, and the last GPT-3, please just have a look into it. It is producing 502 tons. GPT-3 alone is causing 502 tons of CO2 emission, whereas all other, please see air travel. I used to think that air travel, whenever I used to go by air, I used to think, oh, I am in this flight, I am in this aircraft, how much of a carbon emission is producing? But you see the air travel, it causes 0.99 tons. Human life, 5.51 in 1 year. American life average 1 year, 18 tons. And then go straight away to GPT-3. It talks about 510, 502. So obviously, AI is not, something like, you can gloat over, wow, wonderful AI and all. The biggest challenge is environmental damage AI is creating now, and it's supposed to create more and more, add in, it may even go to geometrical progression, not arithmetical progression, but geometrical progression if it is not controlled, by excellent measures. And these measures are not clearly known to the world. This is the biggest challenge. How the usage of AI, what is the impact it can create to the environment, how to control that is still a big challenge. No matter whether AI is going to be going leap and bounds or going to stay static, it is already creating enough damage to the environment. This is something that is a big risk. Thus, ISO 42001 addresses it. It addresses it in the form of risk assessment, which is a requirement, risk treatment. Obviously, risks assessed need to be treated to the best extent possible, and we need to live with the residual risk. In risk management, the basics of risk management is that all risks cannot be treated. And we can't say, I have treated all risks 100%. That means business is closed. There is no business at all if all risks are closed. Risk is part of business, and risk will continue to hog business all through as long as the business is alive. And AI risks need to be assessed. AI risks need to be treated to the best extent possible. And this standard has got a particular additional requirement, which is called impact assessment. What is that AI impact assessment? That also is required to be calibrated, accounted for. Those who are familiar with ISO 27001, ISMS, they know that there is some ISO information security risk assessment, information security risk treatment. That's all there. But here in ISO 42001, you have an additional requirement called AI impact assessment, and the output of impact assessment need also to be considered to be included in the risk assessment. You need to take it to the risk assessment and do the risk treatment also for that. But the impact assessment, the mention of that as a requirement is peculiar to this standard. I said about SC 42, Subcommittee 42 of Joint Technical Committee 1 of ISO IEC. Okay. The ISO 42001 that is managed by Subcommittee 42 of ISO IEC JTC 1 is managed by American National Standards Institute, ANSI, ANSI. Many of you should know ANSI C language, ANSI programming languages and all. This ANSI, ANSI is only the chair, the whole of the deliberations, everything, they are all convened and supervised and coordinated by ANSI, and it has got the secretariat, SC 42 secretariat is there, okay, in ANSI itself. This committee, SC 42, was created in 2017, 7 years before, and it is first of its kind international standards committee looking at the full AI IT ecosystem. Some of the subcommittees of JTC1 are bothered about technology. Most of them are bothered about technology standards. AI is also coming into the broad AI IT ecosystem. There are 40 member countries that are participating in SC 42. 40 member countries are there. Here is the list of countries in which you can find India also. India is also a participant country in developing ISO 42001. Besides many other standards for which there are work group level participation. I have my colleague Manjula Subramanian here, and I've given a credit for her also in the last slide. And Manjula was responsible for representing India in designing and developing and rolling out. It has come up to the final draft stage now, and she has really burned her midnight oil because the committee timings, etc., they're all European timings, not Indian timings. So late night she has to work and do that. And the standard is almost rolled out. It is managing travel risk management standard. particularly for children going on tour. This probably became important after the Thailand disaster where children got caught in a cave and they were rescued. It was a miraculous rescue and a standard was decided to be published. Why I make a mention about is that there should be a reason or a rationale for getting a standard accepted to be rolled out. Okay, we will write this standard. Then the sponsors have to agree and they need to go to the national committee, and the national committee has to take it up with ISO, and the particular subcommittee will be bothered about it. Ultimately, only the writing of the standard starts. It takes a couple of years at least for a standard to get rolled out, particularly a guideline standard. Okay. The scope of the standardization in AI area, okay, it serves as a focus and proponent of all that. I mean, I've already told, let me not repeat. This standard is, as I told you, it is coordinated by, managed and coordinated by ANSI of USA, but it was established in Beijing. In one of the meetings held in Beijing, it was established. Okay. The committee manager, chairperson, they're all, they contribute, so much for the rollout of the standard and participate in the standard development constantly. And here is it something about 2001 as a management system standard. When I say MSS, I mean management system standard. The purpose is the AMS is a management system standard on the use of responsible development and use of AI. You can find whenever we are talking about AI, we may find that responsible AI, explainable AI. Okay, these are the terms that have got big meaning for AI MS itself. Okay, so the standard is comparable to 9001, ISO 9001, and ISO 27001 in parts. I'm not saying that they're all, ditto. Even in the structure, the substructures, subclasses, and all, they're all different, but they have a kind of a compare-contrast overview with each other. Here are some AI risks that have been broadly considered by SC 42, Subcommittee 42. What are they? Here are one, fairness. Okay, because if we know that by now we know, if you say about deep fake. Okay, recently I saw a YouTube video where they tried to demonstrate what is the difference between the original video and the deep fake video. The original video and the deep fake video, if you show to a person who is uninitiated and have got nothing to do with anything called AI, if you just show the video, and if it is a deep fake video, he or she will not even be able to notice it. That much of a maturity has come to deep fake. Is it fair? No. So the fairness, whatever the risks attributed to fairness, to implementing and complying with fairness as an attribute, as a risk attribute, think of it. AMS has to address that. It is addressing that. Security, safety, privacy. The one segment of the business term called privacy. If at all, if there is one risk for privacy, that is the supermost risk, it is AI. Minus AI risk, many privacy risks are manageable and also traceable, but many of the AI risks that impact privacy can't even be traced properly. It is so completely intertwined into the system of technology and in our day-to-day life. The separating privacy from AI has become very difficult. But does AI play any role for privacy complaints? Yes, that also is there. So AI is the benefactor of privacy, and AI is also a risk to privacy depending upon who uses it, what is the motive, what is the purpose, what is the objective. In that, pretty well that as long as human race lives on this earth, you will have risks of many vicissitudes, many factors. Privacy is also one. But many of the privacy laws that are there, privacy legal regulations, I'm talking about privacy laws in the world, they all face one risk commonly across the globe, that is AI. Okay. Other things can at least be managed to some extent, but AI risks are literally unmanageable. They need to be managed. And for that, we need a standard so that the right hand knows what the left hand does. AIMS is the answer, provided there is enough sincerity, participative sincerity among the stakeholders to implement and maintain the standard. Robustness, transparency, explainability. The transparency can, even to find out how transparent it is a little difficult. So we need to ensure this also, transparency. We need to explain in the sense, anything that has gone as a code and ultimately as the output. If you ask, explain this, why this feature is there, the concerned people should be able to explain. This is the reason that we have brought this. What is the output of it? What is the input? What is the churning process? Everything needs to be part of that explainability factor. I've already told you about environmental impact, about the CO2 impact I just showed you. Accountability. Who does what? Who is not doing what? Who is supposed to do that? Maintainability. Okay, everything is there, fine. Is it maintained? Accountability was established. But is it being maintained? Who is going to be asking for? Who is going to be providing evidence for? Maintainability. Similarly, availability and quality of data. I will come to the quality of data sometime soon now. But availability, the same thing is whenever we need something to be available. Can AI be a spoil sport? Do a spoil sport? Making it not available? It is possible. Okay. Over-availability, which means that it needs to stop somewhere, but it is going on wobbling. Is it possible? Yes, that is a risk. AI expertise, not having enough AI expertise is a risk. Yes, it is a risk. In the standard, there is a specific requirement of competence. We need to have a clarity on that. What is the kind of competence we are going to be building up to manage AI in the way we want? Okay. I've written here on the right hand side, you got what is the cost. One is the risks and another is the cost. Now comes what is the character of attributes of AI that need management level oversight. As I told you, ISO 42001 2023 is not a technical standard. You got many technical standards, but this is a management system standard which addresses also some of the technical requirements that need to be fine-tuned, adapted in every organization depending on what is that organization's business with AI. It cannot be the same across all organizations. Even if the product or even if the output is coming up in the form of a software, is coming up in the form of a service, is coming up in the form of a product, the risk need not be the same. The technology need not be the same. The technical configuration need not be the same. So AI can enable design, development, production of assets. Here comes the peculiarity. AI can be a threat. AI can also be a vulnerability. Its risky attributes can be manipulated. AI, after all, it does not have its own thought process like human beings, but it can mimic that to some extent, to very basic extent. So, but its risk attributes can be manipulated because it does not know that it is getting manipulated unless it has been trained already. It has been trained already to differentiate between what is the right way it has to be configured and the wrong way or illegal way. It can be manipulated. The borders of AI are just porous, very porous. You cannot say that AI stops here. AI can wobble. AI can create most unprecedented situations, unexpected situations it can create, which is risky, obviously. It can facilitate. most unexpected and stunning risk execution. It is possible that if a nuclear arsenal station is, is AI controlled, it can fire a rocket. It recently happened also sometime back, but it can fire a rocket without any human intervention. If the AI wobbles, the AI system, I'm using the word now, AI system, if the AI system wobbles, it can create a disaster event. Well, here is something that which is much talked about across the world. AI can facilitate human rights violation. AI can facilitate itself. It all depends upon who are the masters of AI system. What is the intention with which the AI system was developed, designed, developed, and floated, commissioned. Depends on that. It can be silent through, but silently can create a human right breach. Even finding it may be very difficult. How it is happening, who is doing it, these all may be very difficult in a AI human interface. AI needs to be managed from end to end, okay, obviously to minimize risks. AI obviously needs the top management oversight by design. That is the reason you have got management responsibilities, management committee, management commitment, and management review. These are all part of every management system standard. This ISO 42001 also has got. Okay. So here comes, I was talking about risk again and again, risk. Now, where does AI MS get its risk guidelines? I'm not talking about 42001 alone. I'm talking about a whole lot of AI standards published by ISO, where whichever is dealing with risks directly or tacitly. You have a standard by name ISO 31000. The latest version is ISO 31000 2018. It contains risk management guidelines. Here is a caution. For a guideline standard, you cannot go in for a certification. No. It has to be a management system standard type A. If not, you can use it. You can use for implementation. You can get inspiration. You can get trained, but you can't use it for getting certified. For example, if you work in an organization or even say in a college or a university, you can implement ISO 42001. You can implement ISO 27001, but you can't implement, you can't get it certified for ISO 31000. You cannot do that. You can't go in for a certification. Okay. The approach, the ISO 31000 approach, it has got minimum 3 principles, management framework, and processes. There is a specific AI risk management standard, which is a guideline standard, AI risk management standard. Okay, so which is called ISO 23894. There are 3 standards I'm talking about here. One is ISO 42001, another is ISO 23894, yet another is ISO 22989. You need at least these 3 standards to get a minimum grip, a basic grip of how to go about implementing AIMS, or how to even get trained adequately and comprehensively at the base level. Without ISO 23894 knowledge and ISO 22989, 22989 is a terms and definitions, glossary, terminology. Without these 3 standards, understanding of the 3 standards, ISO 42001 alone will not take you to the shore. We will still be on the voyage. So we need the 3 standards, 42001, 23894, and 22989. Just quick mention about it due to passage of time. Okay, I need to manage the time now. Here is again another one, the specific risk interpretations. Anyway, the standard, the slides are going to be available to you. I'm not going to be going into every single line here. But see here, ISO 31000 framework components, they are all written here on the left side. Specific AI specific interpretation from 23894, ISO 23894 perspective, they are all written here very clearly. Okay, so this 23894 is AI specific risks whereas ISO 31000 is a generic risk management standard. Again, ISO 31000 principles which are written here. Okay, so here there are specific interpretation, and here only in the right side you can see nature of AI systems. Okay, throughout the standard ISO 42001, you can find the term AI system again and again, and that is what I mean. We need to bother about implementation also in the design, development, and maintenance, and wherever needed, making continual improvement of an AI system. The ISO 42001 says clearly what is the requirement, not what is the guideline, but what is the requirement. The guidelines are contained in other standards. For example, if it is a risk management guideline, you've got 23894. Okay, so I'm talking about here the scope of 23894. It clearly says the guidance. In between, I'm reading here. The guidance also aims to assist organizations to integrate risk management into their AI-related activities and functions. It moreover describes processes for the effective implementation and integration of AI risk management. I wanted to read it as it is because this is the way how the standards, these 23894 standards owners are those who are the stakeholders who wrote the standard and who edited the standard. All their names are all available, and I put the editor's name here. And please think again that 23894 does not have any requirement, and it is not a basis for certification. It is only having guidance. It is the whole, this I found it very interesting. I've given a credit here. I've taken it from a gdprlocal.com. The understanding and commitment, scope definition, leadership and governance, risk assessment and opportunity identification. These are these terms: risk and opportunities, action to address risks and opportunities. Like that, there are so many classes in the standard. These standards are universal across all ISO management system standards. When I say ISO management system standard, I mean those standards that are used for third-party audit-based certification purposes. All of them have got the same set of classes at a high level. It is called HLS, high-level structure, the PDCA, they're all part of it. So it goes like continuation, AI implementation and operation, that is class, not class. These are all not class. It is only a serial number. But this is a plain English, it is written here, moving away from a typical class-wise presentation for easy understanding of people who are not exposed to ISO management system standard. You got here monitoring and measurement in serial number 6, feedback and improvement serial number 7, serial number 8, documentation records, internal audit and reviews, including of management reviews, and 10, continual improvement. The standard believes in continual improvement and does not talk in terms of continuous improvement. The continual improvement is something that you reach a level, consolidate and progress further. Okay, so these are all nothing but the way how the classes are structured. I've given the serial number on the left. The class, main class is the second column. The third column is a subclass. These are there in almost all management system standards that are used for audit-based certification purposes. Okay. Here comes the scope, normative references, terms and definitions. They are not used for, they have nothing to do with implementation as such. These are not implemented. But context of the organization onwards, these are all the real requirement, exact requirements that need to be taken into implementation table once an organization decides to implement AIMS. Leadership, planning, support. Please see under the support, the common classes like resource, competence, awareness, communication, document information. When we are talking about awareness, we are talking about artificial intelligence management system awareness. Communication, AI-related communication. Competence, AI-related competence. Similarly, on the planning side, as I told already, you've got actions to address risks and opportunities and the AI objectives and planning to achieve them. If you see one standard, one ISO management system standard, type A, you can easily graduate to any standard at a management system level. I'm not talking about that particular domain level. No, the domain level, you need to slug it out to understand what is the domain, but a management system standard, to understand it, you don't need to burn the midnight oil. Here comes operation, okay, under which you got IAI risk assessment and risk statement. Okay, this is nothing but in whatever that you have planned in your risk assessment here, action to address risk and opportunities under planning, you implement it here. That's all it talks about. But we see here in 8.4, I told you, there is an AI system impact assessment. This is something very specific for ISO 42001. You do not have it in any other standard, to my knowledge. The AI system impact assessment differentiates 42001 from ISO 27001 precisely. Okay, because the ISO is bothered about the impact, and the impact needs to be understood to sufficient depths, adequate depths, because of which they have made it into a requirement itself. And the performance evaluation is the same for across all ISO MSs. You got monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. You got internal audit, management review, which are common components across standards. You got improvement, which contains continual improvement and non-conformity and corrective actions. Okay, here comes the important thing which I wanted to tell you here. This standard does not, only have classes. This has got risk treatment controls. The Annex A of the standard contains the risk treatment controls. Unlike ISO 27001, this standard has got Annex A, Annex B, Annex C, Annex D. All are written here. And ISO 42001 clearly makes it that you need to also keep an eye on what are the guidelines for AI controls. That also you need to keep in mind when you implement the standard. Whereas in other, for example, in ISO 27001, it does not say so precisely. Whereas here, the Annex B also you need to be conversant with. It is all written in plain English, Annex B, implementation guidelines. But Annex A contains control objectives and controls, which is a little different because in the standard 27001-2022, they have removed the control objectives. It is not there at all now. But here, they have introduced it here, almost mapping it with the earlier ISO 27001 standard, that is ISO 27001-2013. Whenever you have a project and you have completed ISO 42001, you need to bring out a statement of applicability. That statement of applicability called SOA. This SOA is the one finally the auditor, the third-party auditor, independent auditor from a certification body wants to see and make a clear reference of that in the certificate itself. When you get a certificate from a certification body, the statement of applicability, version number and date, etc. are mentioned in the certificate itself. Such is the importance of statement of applicability, which is Annex A. Though some of my friends here who attended my training earlier here, they attended the ISO 27001, the training, lead auditor training. They know what is the meaning of this Annex A and the statement of applicability. I'm sure they also will be able to relate what I say with whatever they have learned. Here comes another interesting portion here. ISO 42001 compliance makes EU AI Act compliance easier. India does not have an AI law. Not only India. Many other countries do not have country level AI law is not there at all. No. EU, the entire EU, which means the EU countries put together, there is an EU AI Act. It came in a few months before. This EU AI Act talks almost in the way how ISO 42001 has as its risk requirements, risk assessment requirements. You can see here AI system, use case, risk level. What is the risk level? Is it unacceptable risk? Then the use case is prohibited. High risk use case is permitted, but must comply with strict rules, etc. Low or no risk, no action required. This is the basic of the risk orientation of EU AI Act. When you implement ISO 42001 in letter and spirit, you create enough evidence for compliance with EU AI Act, which for some organizations, some companies in India, which have got customers in Europe, for them, the implementation of ISO 42001 almost becomes a mandate. And even some of the customers in Europe may also ask for it. We want you to comply with EU AI Act because you are our vendor. So in that case, the AIMS implementations becomes almost imperative. 42001 implementation can make compliance to EU Act easier. Why? 42001 also has got principles such as fairness, transparency, and accountability. And the drill down compliance of RA and RT, risk treatment requirements of 42001, has got a close resemblance with what EU AI Act wants you to do in terms of risk management. I told you about ISO 22989. It contains AI concepts and terminology. Even it will take some time for us to get a hold of this AI concept and terminology. It should take quite a good time. Okay, we need to have also the business case of how to understand it, depending upon what is our job and what is the organization where we are working is oriented towards as a business. So here comes the definitions. It has got definitions of concepts relevant to AI, general concepts, ML concepts, and all that, trustworthiness, AI verification and validation. Think of ISO 9001, verification and validation. Here we have got the same thing. Jurisdictional issues, societal impact, AI system lifecycle, AI ecosystems, etc. And I wanted to tell you also, this has got a close resemblance with OECD. Okay, there is another community called OECD. That OECD, which is again Economic Development Committee, that also has got the definition of AI system. It maps very well with ISO 22989s. Okay, there is something that which technologists and engineers may not need to do anything specifically by design, which is required if your organization belongs to the AIMS ecosystem. And that is exactly the standard ISO 24368 2022 addresses ethical and societal concerns. When you do the AI coding, actually the ML in a machine language, let us say that you are doing a Python coding and you are going to be rolling out and you have got your requirements clear. Requirements can be given by anybody, but are the requirements ethical? Do they address societal concerns? Is something what you are trying to do as develop a code to roll out a product or a solution? Does it probably create a deep fake methodology, deep fake a system, AI system that will create deep fake artifacts? How? Is it going to be creating a gender discrimination for some marketing company to create a discrimination and create its own selling point? The typical engineer or a coder may not know. So here comes 24368, ethical and societal concerns, which also is an important standard in the AIMS family of standards. Here comes very, very important point particularly for engineers. Particularly, many engineers grumble, rightly so, that the data quality and the data set availability, dependable data set availability is a big challenge. Now, how do you work out what is data quality? There should be some guidelines, and the guidelines should address different scenarios, different organizational requirements, not standard requirement, organizational requirements. Here comes the standard 5259. They got 6 standards, 6-part standard. These are 6-part standard. And some of them are under publication, which means even next month it may come out. One is the ISO 5259. It talks about data quality for analytics and ML. It contains overview, terminology and examples. Part 2 is talking about DQ measures, which is in the final draft stage, which means in another 3-4 months it can be published. 5259-3-3, it talks about DQ analytics for ML, DQ management requirements and guidelines. It is under publication, which means everything is done. It has gone to print. Same is the case with 529594, DQ process framework under publication. Shortly it will come out. Please think of it, there is something very clear, not AI governance framework, but data quality governance framework, which people who have got quality assurance team, which is part of an AI product or a solution development company, needs to be bothered about. It is in the draft stage now. It is in the draft stage. The last standard visualization framework for data quality, that is in the committee stage. It will take another 1 or 2 years to come out. This is an excellent effort by ISO to address a big pain point, data quality. If AI is suffering for want of progress at the design development stage now, it is because of one prime reason is data quality. Reliability of data quality and data set quality, and obviously these standards should come to the rescue and create a sense of relief for development teams, as they should know how to probably configure their system requirements itself, keeping in mind data quality in picture. The ISO 27001, 42001 synergy, I'm coming close to that now. I told you about 42001 and 27001 adequately. I'm not going to be taking much time. But here is an aspects review between 27001 and 42001. You can have a look into it. I've talked about both these standards enough. So this one, since you are going to be having the slide soon, you can go into that and find out for yourself what is 27001 as opposed to 42001 in snapshots. Here is again context and organization, context understanding, leadership, policy objectives, risk management, impact assessment. You can see here impact assessment, the 27001 does not speak anything. It is blank. Whereas 42001 clearly says establish process to assess potential impacts and consequences of AI systems on users and stakeholders. Stakeholders, bigger term, that means interested parties, need not be just customers. It can be employees, it can be visitors, it can be somewhere like a wayfarers, anybody who may be affected by what do you do as your AI design and development rollout. They are all part of the stakeholder community. Support resources, competence and awareness. Here comes the statement of applicability. I've clearly told that whatever that I mentioned is all here. I don't want to take much of your time in talking about SOA again, but since I wanted to include it here so that anybody who does not understand SOA can look into it, and the Google search can give you tons of data on statement of applicability. Tons of data. You only need to know the abbreviation called SOA, ISO 27001. If you type ISO 42001 SOA, you may not get any decent results. No result at all possibly. But if you ask the AI chatbots like Gemini or any of these AI chatbots, you will get plenty of assistance from it. I wanted to make a reference to one of the finest articles, basic article, a kind of an article about ISO 42001, which may be very difficult to include here. And the person who published this is one of my very known colleagues by name Sandhya Tamesra. I used to work with her in BSI as an auditor. She runs a company called Precoris. And here is the link which you can go through. The 3-part article can give you an excellent overview of ISO 42001, 2023, which can be a springboard for you. If you want to attend any training program conducted by any organization, please read it so that you become at least basic familiarity with the standard. She has done it in a plain English. And when I talked to her today, saying that I want to make a reference to it, she said, I have written it keeping in mind engineers mostly, and not management system people, but engineers. So those who are engineers and those who come from engineering background, having a need to get into the management system portion of the 42001, please look into it. Please refer to it. I'm sure that you will enjoy it. Here is the final one. 42001 intends to help organizations responsibly. Okay, this again and again, the responsible AI. If you go and then type out responsible AI, you will get tons of data on even the PDF documents, etc. They are all available in Google search. Automatic decision making, which is one big risk for privacy compliance. Okay, this is something that is a risk. We need to take into risk assessment of 42001 and impact assessment, and also ensure that we treat it adequately. Okay, use of data analysis and ML rather than human coded logic to design systems. It increases the application opportunities for AI systems, etc. AI system perform continuous learning, change their behavior during use. Everything depends upon the masters, and the masters are human beings. Once the masters have decided something, it is quite possible that an AI system can become the proverbial Frankenstein's monster. This is a typical, a book also, or probably a movie, Frankenstein's monster, which means the effect of it is that the owner himself or herself cannot control an AI system when it wobbles and creates most unprecedented results or situation. We need to be bothered about that also here. And here comes the collaborative exercise in drafting 42001 standard. You may think that my business is not having anything to do with, software development. How am I concerned? If you are having anything to do with audio, picture, multimedia, hypermedia, these are all the business, your business, then that committee also has been taken into taken into account. Their participation has also been ensured by ISO SC 42. Same is the case with IT service management and IT governance. They have also participated. Like all these different subcommittees having participated in the design and development of 42001 makes it robust enough. Okay, this again, this is the technical committee's participation to make the ISO 42001 acceptable, reliable. These are all for collaborative exercise in drafting 42001, which are the IEC committees, not ISO committees, but IEC committees. They also have been enumerated here. How to comply with 42001? Straight, simple, one slide. Get top management approval. The top management is maybe your CEO and CXOs, or it can be the board. It all depends upon how your organization is designed. Form up a steering committee at a senior management level. It may consist of those who are reporting to the CXOs or the CEO, CXO team itself. Depends upon what is your structure of your organization. Roll out the draft scope of AIMS. Don't finish it, but keep a draft scope. Start journeying. Form as many implementation groups as possible, as necessary for your organization. Create synergy with your organization risk management. There can be an ERM, enterprise risk management team. There can be nothing but a chief risk officer alone. Depends upon that. Create synergy with that particular team or that particular manager. Deliberate on AI system at multiple levels of organization. You may not be working with one AI system. So please deliberate on that. Appoint the implementation project manager and finalize the scope. And ultimately, I'm coming here, finalize the scope much after, not immediately, but here I'm saying finalize the scope. Conduct appropriate training to different participating teams. I'm not talking about only awareness training, but context-specific training to develop competence, create training and needs analysis, and ensure that whatever output of it is addressed adequately and appropriately. Review project progress at frequent intervals, regular intervals. Conduct finally your internal audit and management review. The output of it is what you are going to be sharing with the certification body auditor also. If certification is part of your business agenda, please understand certification is an option. For an organization, certification is an option. It is not a mandatory one. If you want to go in for a certification, your organization, you facilitate the certification audit, the stage 1 and stage 2 audit. Stage 1 is a documentation audit. Stage 2 is the evidence of your having implemented it. Get certified. Wow, celebrate. Future of AI is scary, but it's beneficial, exciting too. Much depends upon AI governance. The depth of your AI governance holds the key. If it is going to be scary or if it is going to be exciting and beneficial. AIMS is the answer at this point of time. The rest of it are all my thoughts I've written here. It may not take much of your time. A cursory overview of AI impact on business and industries. Please see that whatever that these books have been written, these are all book covers. Agriculture, it impacts. Food security, it impacts. Microbiology, AI impacts. Indian agriculture, AI for social good. Sustainability, which means ESG. All these books, they don't just talk about AI, but AI as an input to bring progress to different domain areas, knowledge domain areas, business domain areas, neurological disorders, medicine, healthcare, all that are fine. I will end it up with saying, one thing is for sure, that is Albert Einstein says, one thing I have learned in a long life, that our science, all our science, measured against reality, is primitive and childlike. This is not a past tense statement. This is a statement that will live its life throughout as long as the earth lives, as long as humanity lives. And what he says then, and yet it is the most precious thing we have. If anybody is going to say, AIMS is not covering this, AIMS is not a good standard and all. A standard, an ISO standard, is not a cast in stone. It is serving the purpose for now, and it gets revised. Every 5 to 8 years, it gets revised normally. So Albert Einstein, what he says, applies to 42001 also. I've given credits here for wherever, I've used, some of the copyrighted material. I've given the reference here. My thanks to ACM, IEEE and CSI and any other organization I'm not able to remember and quote here. Thanks to them. Thanks to all of you for having been patient listening to me. Dr. and Mr. H.R. Mohan, Dr. K. Komathy, Dr. Sakthivel, Dr. Godfrey Winston, Dr. Maithili Prakash. I believe I have at least said hi to every one of them. And the credit goes to Mr. H.R. Mohan for having brought me here. Salute to him. And everyone who coordinated in this organization, IEEE, CSI, ACM, etc., for making this webinar a very successful one. I also thank my colleague Manjula Subramanian, my colleague who worked with me for finalizing this presentation. Questions?
Thank you, sir. Sir, few questions are there in the chat box as well as few questions they given during the registration.
Okay.
Mr. Chetan Anand has given during the registration as well as in the chat box. This question is, how should we address climate change in our documentation information? How should we audit against this requirement mentioned in CA 4.1, 4.2? Another one more question, why do the controls start with A 2.2 instead of A 2.1?
Sir, I got the questions here. I will go one by one. The Chetan Anand's question, how should we address climate change? As you know, AI can, all the meteorological department, whatever that they are doing, the AI input to the computers, to the system, AI system maintained by meteorological departments and weather monitoring stations, they have a big dependence on AI now today. Yes. Think of it that when you go to the, any website, weather website, you can find that tomorrow it will be 36 degrees. The day after tomorrow it's 37 degrees. all that. The next day, third day, it is 43 degrees. The contribution is from AI significantly. And as I told you, this one particular climate change, very important point here, as a result of the the climate change discussions that took place in COP28. It's a committee of participants, country of participants, or committee of participants, which holds its conference every year. The COP28 decided that climate change should be addressed by a country in many of its stakeholders' domain. So as a result, not only this standard, all standards, 9001, 14001, 45,001, 42,001, 27,001, all of them have got the same class, same verbatim, same class called climate change. It only says climate change, anything that impact the climate change, that addresses climate change, whatever that is, that need to be part of the standard. So this has also been included as a kind of a mandatory mention, and they have given an addendum, but 42,001 did not have a need for addendum at all, because the standard was published after the decision by COP28 and the ISO plenary committee's plenary section decision. Okay, so this one, the standard has got this particular requirement of climate change across all standards and in ISO standard also. Other standards, other management system standards have got the addendum. This standard needed no addendum because it was designed and developed, rolled out finally after the climate change decision was communicated. It is all, many organizations are responsible for that. WTO, ITU, International Telecommunication Union, ISO plenary committee, all of them have been part of it. Okay. How should we audit against the requirement of class 4.1, 4.2? These are all very, very specific questions, implementation questions. These audit against requirements of mentioned in class 4.1 and 4.2. It talks about, the internal and external issues. And this standard has got a few more requirements also specifically. Okay, you need to talk not in terms of AI alone, but in terms of organization. You need to have an understanding of the canopy, organizational canopy, and then configure it to your AIMS. It is not that you will do something with AIMS directly, but talk to your organizational stakeholders, find out what are the external, internal issues, and then configure what are required for AIMS as internal, external issues. There are a string of requirements. You need to do that. And it is done. Please see from a risk perspective also this. The 4.1 itself, you need to think in terms of risk perspective. It is not when you are talking about risk assessment, you need to do that. But in 4.1 itself, you need to bring the concept of risk management. 4.2 is the needs and expectations of interested parties. As you know, AI has got a huge list of interested parties. Even the neighbor, a neighboring organization, or if there is a residence next, if you're doing some, field research, genomics or gene splicing or anything that can think of Wuhan in China, they did a research, something, we read that, and it went out of the lab and occupied the whole world, which is called COVID. Is there a possibility that AI systems were used in that process? Please think about, there are also needs and expectations of interested parties to cover even the next neighbor or the one in the next floor. So interested parties are, the term interested parties, particularly AIMS, can be vast, can be very comprehensive, exhaustive. We need to understand how they are going to be impacted by our AIMS. Simple. In short term, I've said that. And comes here, why do controls start with A.2.2? Excellent question. This is written, asked by somebody who knows what is a management system. This Annex A and Annex B, I told you, Annex A has got A.2.2 straight away, AI policy onwards. But This standard does not have something like 27002. In ISO 27001 ecosystem, you got 27002. But here you do not have a 42002. I don't know why, but it is not there. But Annex B serves to some purpose, creating a mapping between the controls in Annex A and mapping it to the Annex B. In Annex B, you got AI objectives. But objective is there across all control domains. You got objectives in Annex A. In Annex B, it starts with one single comprehensive mention card, A.2.1 objectives. Not many objectives, but only thing is that only one term called objectives. That is 2.1. In order to maintain the parity in serial number between Annex B and Annex A, they have brought 2.2 to start with in the Annex A standard, Annex A of the controls.
Sir,
You say Annex A is the requirement.
sorry to disturb you, sir. There are a lot of questions available. So if they want a detailed description from you, they can mail you. Correct, sir?
You can also reach me
Yes, sir.
on my phone number, on my thing.
Yeah, because there are a lot of questions, other questions from other candidates. We will move on, sir.
Yes, sir.
The next question.
Yes, madam. So, anything else? As far as the training is concerned, I would like to say one thing. There is no formal, so-called accredited training available right now. No. But there are many training programs available. It all depends upon who are you. Are you from AI or are you from management system? If you are from AI, trying to get even ISO 9001 is very good if you want to have a long innings. And then go into AIMS. Be there, enjoy AIMS, management system, even 9001, and then graduate to AIMS. It can help you a lot if you are very serious. But if you want to get into AI alone, don't do AIMS. Just enjoy it. Okay. I agree. Exemplar Global provides accredited training. I agree with that. But the popularity, everything is not global. Okay. So whereas the IRCA has got a global presence, and I have attended many Exemplar Global training in the past. Okay. So in India, the IRCA training has got a big meaning. It's a very large presence in India and other Commonwealth countries. Okay. So, but yes, whatever Chetan Anand says, he's perfect and all, but he knows it, and I agree with that. Exemplar Global has got a training program, training scheme. Okay, so what else? Any option for training? Any opportunities for to apply once AIMS learned all the technology in AIMS? Yes, I would always say, please understand AI as much as possible, even from a non-technical perspective. If you are not a techie, please understand issues, things like supervised learning, unsupervised learning, deep learning, ML, all these training, how an AI system is trained, these are all important for you to survive the AI terms that are generously used in the AIMS world. Okay, how to identify and prevent misuse of AI, risk management, risk assessment and risk treatment. Simple. Okay, this is an answer for Santosh Prajapati. And one Dane Monser has asked, what solution is the best to practice the safe use of AI in all aspects of technological? There is nothing called the best practice for safe use across and all. Every organization is different. And every organization's need for AI or an organization's, if it is going to be designing, developing and rolling out AI applications, their needs are very different from consumers' needs. So the word safe or security is context specific to the organization. One size does not fit all. But one size does fit all when it comes to question of appreciating the need for adequate risk assessment and risk treatment. And impact assessment also, obviously. Okay. Can I have more questions? Is there any other question still waiting?
Yes, sir. Few more questions, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
A few more questions are there in chat. Mr. Madhavan asked, you mentioned about AMS to be regulated. However, there is no regulation in India. In some countries, regulations are defined, but they are not synchronous. This is
Okay.
a challenge for multi-site organization.
Okay.
Your views?
Okay. His question is there in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Mr. Madhavan, you mentioned about AMS to be regulated. However, there is no regulation in India. Though in some countries regulations are defined, but they are not synchronous. This is a challenge for a multi-site organization. Mr. Madhavan, even leave alone multi-site organization, even for a single organization, single site organization, it has got a problem. Okay, it has got a challenge. So, as far as, since, there is no accreditation scheme that is yet got rolled out, it is still in the offing. Okay, so I believe that there needs to be an accreditation scheme to audit even organizations. I don't know whether I'm right. Till yesterday, the news that I have is the major accreditation bodies like UCAS, IRCA, they are yet to accredit. But I believe that Chetan Anand probably maybe may have some information if he thinks that Exemplar Global has got a accreditation itself for ISO 42001 audits. And I don't know whether any organization has been audited and certified for. The only organization which I know which has got the unaccredited certification, that is the way how it starts. Wrong meaning. Infosys has got the unaccredited certification. It has already got it, but it is yet to be accredited. Maybe once the standard comes with an accreditation scheme, audit scheme, Infosys will go in for a short, progress, short upgradation to accreditation audit and get certified again. Okay. So other than that, I do not know whether any organization has done the certification.
Okay. Sir, another one more question from TJS Varadan.
Yes.
He asked, GPT-3 generates 502 tons of CO2. How is this estimated? How we do the same things without GPT? What will be the emission impact?
I'm sorry. Definitely. I'm not an environmental expert. I'm not a CO2 generation emission calculation expert. Maybe energy management system, which is for that it's a separate standard. Okay, so that may answer this. Maybe there is an ISO standard. But if you ask me, how is this estimated? Probably I need to join TJS Varadan. I'm a very keen data researcher. I would like to interact with the TJS Varadan and try to find out and share with the results with the rest of the people who are here. I'm eager, but I've covered a lot of data. In that one single aspect is the emission, CO2 emission. How it is estimated, etc. Only we need to go into and find out, which itself is a specialization. Okay, so it is not something that within my domain competence to say how it is estimated.
Sir, few questions related to the training session. You already given the answer in common. So I think we can omit that kind of questions. And Mr. Chetan has given freely available standard ISO website details. And
Mr. Godfrey, Chetan Anand has given a wonderful information he has shared with. I agree with that.
Yes.
ISO 22989. All of you can go and download. ISO standards are deeply costly.
Yes.
Very costly. Chetan Anand has given a wonderful information. This ISO 22989, if you go to ISO free standards, go and type out Google ISO free standards, you will land in the ISO free standards website, web page. And go down under and search for 22989. You can download it straight away. The same standard is available for maybe a few thousand rupees at least, but it is available in ISO website. Legally you can download, but you can use it only for yourself. You cannot circulate it. That is the minimum term and condition. As far as 42005 is standard for system impact assessment, this is under draft. Perfect. There's a separate standard coming up for system impact assessment. It is still in draft. It will take 1 or 1.5 years even. It all depends upon how fast the standard can do. Yes, Chetan Anand, you are right. LITD 30 is working on AI, but it's a mirror committee. Okay, so working with the ISO mirror committee. It's an ISO mirror committee in India, and as a BIS representing India in ISO. Perfect, you're right. And the examples of Indian companies who have implemented 42,000, I told already, Jagdish, ISO, this Infosys has done it, but many companies have bought the standard and are doing their own internal appreciation of what they need to do to get certified. The interest is very big now, but I don't think that people have gone to the level of going in for certification, which needs a lot of efforts. Okay, so Sai, very informative. CSI, okay, please provide your feedback. Chetan Anand, the expert blog, right? For 42,006, please appreciate ISO 42,006 is necessary. 100% 42,006 standard is necessary for certification bodies to declare their competence and declare their capability. And also it contains many things else, probably things like mandates for audit and the issue of certification, non-conformities, many requirements are there. If you want to understand what is 42,006, you may have to look into what is ISO 27,006. 27,006 contains requirements for certification bodies that do ISO 27,001 audit. Similarly, for organizations, certification bodies doing ISO 42,001 audit, certification bodies I mean, not end user organizations, they need to remember 42,006 is the standard that governs them, and they need to implement 42,006. They are also audited by accreditation bodies. A certification body is audited by its own accreditation body. That accreditation body uses this 42,006 to audit the certification bodies they have accredited. Okay. UCAS, Suniljit, UCAS has expression of interest launch accreditation scheme. However, this direction seems to be not. You are right, Suniljit. I know. I mean, what is your how thorough you are, and I understand this also. Correct. Okay. So I think I've covered many questions. We have I'll only be too happy. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Bondaya Adupu has said that organization can go for AIMS certification without having ISMS certification. Perfectly fine. But only thing is, as somebody who is conversant with ISMS, as an auditor, as a consultant, as a trainer, I will say, it is much easy for organization to graduate to AIMS because their job is a few steps they can skip in the implementation as they would have got accustomed to live with ISMS.
No, sir. IAF is not clear that. Check pending. Govind, sir. IAF has not come out with a clear guidelines on whether.
Correct. It's all in the offing. It's all in the offing.
Yes,
so
sir. Now we cannot say in a public forum like this that any company can go straight away to 42001 certification.
Yes, right.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you. Sir, thank you so much for the very informative and excellent session. Now I would like to call Dr. K. Gomathy to deliver the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, one and all. On behalf of the organizing units, IEEE Computer Society Madras, Computer Society of India Chennai, and ACM Chennai, let me take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. At the outset, I thank the chapters jointly organizing this webinar today, ISO IEC 42001 at 2023 AI Management System. We thank our guest speaker, Mr. Govind Srinivasan, Practice Manager Management System Paramount Dataware Private Limited and Director of BSERI, for enlightening us about games. Here is a summary of today's talk. How to regulate AI usage and consumption in a controlled manner, how to sync stakeholders by design. PPTA, people, process, technology of AI are covered in this standard. AIMS key controls such as risk management, AI impact assessment, system lifecycle management, and performance optimization and supplier management. AI's risks such as fairness, security, safety, privacy, robustness, and transparency and explainability are need to be managed. AI impact assessment looks at the risk assessment for example, AI impact on environment in terms of CO2 emission is a big challenge. AI attributes may be manipulated and hence they need to be managed from end to end to minimize risk. ISO IEC 23894 is meant for primarily giving guidelines for AI risk management and not for certification. Mr. Govind also addressed ISO 42001-2023 clauses and annexes in detail. ISO IEC 5259 in 6-part addresses the AI quality, data quality challenges. He also compared ISO 42001-2023 versus ISO 27001-2022. Finally, he concluded with why organizations should adopt ISO IEC 42001 approach. Being compliant with the standards provides a competitive advantage by instilling confidence in customers and stakeholders. It demonstrates a commitment to quality, ethical practices, and adherence to industry-recognized benchmark. My heartfelt thanks goes to the speaker who, with his expertise, explained all the questions raised by the participants today. I also thank Ms. Manju Subramaniam for joining us today, who is also involved in developing AIMS standard. I thank the office bearers of organizing units who supported throughout this webinar. Our heartfelt thanks goes to our mentor, Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chair Events IEEE Computer Society Madras section, who meticulously worked towards the progress of these chapters by presenting such expertise to this platform for the benefit of the members. I'm thankful to the participants who joined us in live Google Meet and YouTube live streaming as well. And a special mention to those who actively participated in the Q&A section. I hope this session would encourage many of the participants to explore further on AI management system standards. With these warm words, we move to this end of this today's event. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Govind. Yeah, you're muted. You're muted.
Thanks to everyone. Thanks to the organizers.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your patience and thanks for your encouragement.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
all.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Good
See
night.
you under some context. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Live streaming stop பண்ணிடுங்க.
Stop YouTube live streaming.
Okay then. Okay, thank you.